Hello, friends, lads, whomever you may be, the odd occasional female who sometimes shows up on my channel, but mostly lads. Here I am in nature, making my nature trek through the muddy path. Semi-muddy. It was raining a little while ago. A couple days ago, but it's and so there's some puddles that remain, but it's mostly dried up. Anyway, that's not important. Nobody cares about that. The reason why I'm recording this video is because I realized that after talking to somebody else, I realized that my testimony, my story of how I got visited by two friendly FBI agents, how they came to my door. That's one of the things, one of the videos that's lost, that got lost when YouTube nuked my old channel, and I didn't realize it. In fact, I'd sort of forgotten about when it even happened. I had, in my mind, I'd placed it later, like sometime in 2020. It was actually back in 2019 that this happened, and I want to repeat the story of what took place, just because I think it may be instructive for people out there who either have gotten visited or who anticipate or are in some kind, who feel some kind of apprehension about maybe one day the G-men will show up pounding at my door. In my case, it wasn't a pounding. There wasn't a SWAT team. It wasn't anything like that. It was just two guys. And I want to retell the story and put it back out there because it was lost, unfortunately. Thanks a lot, YouTube. Hate as always. YouTube is my whore. It's nothing more than my whore. The only reason I'm on it is because it's useful for me to be on it. Not because I endorse it, not because I like it. But, alright, so this was sometime in late 2019. The doorbell rang. I went and answered it. And then there were two men in suits and ties, and they were both in their 30s, I think. One of them was kind of a little more fit than the other, I'm remembering, although this is 4 years ago now, so it's kind of, the mists of time are shrouding some of the things that I recall. I'm just trying to think of any way to distinguish the two of them. You know, I really thought, and it was humorous to think of them this way, I really kind of thought of them as akin to Mormon missionaries. And I do know that the LDS Church has a big stake in the FBI, and has played a role, you know, in the federal system in many ways. They've infiltrated in many ways, which is kind of ironic, given that they were once so heavily persecuted by the federal system of the United States of America, way back in the 19th century. This seems the shoe is on the other foot. But anyway, that's what it reminded me of, because there, you know, just like with the Mormons, there were two of them. Just like with the Mormons, they were well dressed. You know, two young white guys. These guys were a little older. Like I said, the Mormon missionaries you'd see would be in their early 20s. Or maybe even a little bit younger than that. These guys were, you know, in their 30s. And they just they flashed their badges and said, "Hi, we're Agent so-and-so and Agent so-and-so with the FBI." And, you know, I was just sort of like, my brain was in a fog at that moment. They kept talking. I don't remember now what exactly they were saying. But they were, but when they announced that they were the FBI, and I saw that their badges, you know, showed me they were indeed FBI, and later they gave me their cards. So they were who they were claiming to be. This wasn't just some practical joke. I was, you know, kind of just a lot of things were going through my mind, like, how did you get my address? I don't put my address out there, you know. I don't even go under my name, the name that I'm known as here. My actual name is different, and it's the name that I assume when I'm in an official capacity. But I've always been called Andy. That's always been my nickname. It's always been the name that I've you know, that it's been what everybody has ever called me. And so that's sort of the name that I'm known as. But I guess they have their ways, and I guess it wasn't really that hard, but I still don't exactly know how it was accomplished, because I don't put my actual name out there. I don't put my street address where I live out there. But they found me, and they were sort of saying something like, I wish I could remember more about how it all fell out, but they were acting like, oh, you know, this is just normal. You know, we're just talking to you, but you know, it wasn't like a, you know, there wasn't a stern sort of demeanor about them. They were just sort of being chummy, you know, and their chumminess was at odds with the fact that they were at my doorstep, and that they were FBI. If I'm remembering right, maybe one of them was more sort of nice and friendly, and the other was a little bit more reserved and laid back and kind of suspicious. You know, that would be, I mean, I know that the good cop, bad cop routine is sort of it's a trope, but it's also real. So I'm seeming to remember that one of them was maybe a little bit more smiley than the other one. But eventually, you know, they were talking, and they were sort of like, it was like, I wish I could remember what they were saying. My mind was just in a fog. Why were they here? What had happened? What was going on? I was thinking, you know, of course I had been, you know, I'm sure I'm on some lists. You know, I had been associated with Richard Spencer for a time. I had been to Charlottesville. I had video of myself at Charlottesville, you know, clashing with the riot police thugs, and getting pepper sprayed and so forth. And those videos are all gone too. Sorry. There's all very dramatic stuff. You see me get sprayed and then fall to the ground, coughing, drop the phone. It's almost choreographed, but it was real. It really happened. So I was thinking, does this have something to do with me being at Charlottesville? Does this have something did I say something online? And it turned out it was about something that I had done or said online. But they very gradually came around to it. And they were sort of like representing it. I don't know if they used the word well check, but they were representing themselves as if they were there just to check up on me to see if I was okay. And I think for a split second, I even believed that, which is, I'm ashamed to say, you know, because it's absurd. Obviously they were there. They were not there because they gave a shit about me or my well-being. That's not what the FBI does. That's not who they are. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. They don't care about anybody except the interest that they're representing. But, you know, I sort of talked to them. I engaged with them. And I remember afterwards when I first told this story, when I gave this account, I had some people come out at me angrily saying, you should never have engaged with them. You should have slammed the door in their faces, and that would have been that. And that's the only thing you should have done. And I remember thinking at the time, you know, I want to, first of all, it's easy to say, this is what you should have done when you're, you know, armchair quarterbacking, Monday morning quarterbacking, you know, thinking if this would have happened to me. But when you're completely, totally taken off guard, as I was, I didn't know they were coming. I didn't get any kind of prior notice that the FBI was on its way to my doorstep. So, you know, I was doing the best that I could under the circumstances. So eventually, you know, what came out was that I had said something where, and what actually made me think of this is somebody who, I won't identify here, I won't say who this person is, but somebody recently came out and talked about how they essentially got swatted because they made a joke about suicide. And somebody who did not really care about their well-being, but just wanted to harass them, you know, reported this to a suicide hotline or something, and that made it necessary for this person to be taken away and taken into an institution for the better part of a day so that they could check this person out and make sure that he or she was okay. And it was just this outrageous imposition, and that actually made me recall my own story. My own story was nowhere close to being as awful as this person, but I realized anyway it should be out there, and it's not out there. Hence this video. So I eventually was sort of like, what I don't remember. I think I'd said something like, I had said, yeah, you know, I knew Richard Spencer at one time, and I don't even know why I said that. It was some kind of, you know, I don't know why I said anything. I don't know why I said anything, but why are you guys here? What is going on? But eventually, I think that's, you know, eventually I came around to that after I got through my brain fog and got through my, you know, well, let's try to reason this out. Let me try to understand this. Let me try to give some context for this, you know, and eventually what came out was that I had said something when I was like feeling kind of in a dark state of mind. And that's the thing about this, you know, recording videos, whether it's on YouTube or somewhere else. That's something that you have to resist, is to become overly confessional, or become confessional in a way that you know, doesn't help you, you know, doesn't do you any good. But there were certain times, I think there have been times over the course of me being a YouTuber or a vlogger, which has gone on for several years now. I actually started doing this when I was driving up to Charlottesville, just because I thought this is going to be interesting. Whatever happens, it's going to be interesting. I didn't have any idea it was going to fall out the way that it did, but it certainly was interesting. And then I just decided to keep going with it after that. So you do kind of get into state of, sometimes you just you feel like venting. And I know people do this. I know a lot of people who do this, and you know, I don't think you should use this forum to vent. I don't think that ultimately helps you. Although at the same time, I think just like with writing, and which I put way above this. You know, this is just, you know, this is not something that I think I see myself, you know, engaging in this as any kind of art form. But when I write, I do have pretensions of being engaged in trying to write literature, trying to write something that is worthwhile, something that will, you know, stand the test of time, something that will transcend time. People will still read centuries from now. You know, that's my pretension, if you will. That's my goal. You know, I take it seriously as a calling. But anyway, with any kind of expression, you know, of your own thoughts, ideas, and so forth, an essential part of that is being vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable to a degree. I think people who just come on and just, well, I'm a badass, I'm above it all. I don't care what anybody says, you know, and I know people come across that way, and this kind of bombastic, blowhard kind of manner. I've always avoided that just because I know it's not true. I'm someone who seriously struggles in a lot of ways. And I suspect a lot of other people out there are that way too, even if whether they want to admit it or not, because life is difficult, okay? And it's especially difficult when you're kind of feel alone a lot of the time. But anyway, I said something like, along the lines of, something big something big better happen by July 4th, or else I'm just stepping away from this. I think part of what fed into why I said what I said was, it was in the midst of all the Q talk. And there were people who were saying, July 4th, something really incredible is going to happen. I mean, I remember Isaac Cappy, who I followed, who I liked, but who I didn't think was totally on the right path, you know, as far as his apprehension of things, as far as, you know, Q, and as far as believing that Trump was going to save everybody and that kind of stuff. He said something about July 4th, some big revelation taking place on July 4th, and that I think some people thought that it's interesting now with RFK Jr. now coming out as a presidential candidate, but back then people thought that John Kennedy Jr. was going to return. You know, he had supposedly died in this mysterious plane crash, but now he was going to come back, and together with Trump they were going to take down all the bad guys and blah blah blah. And I was very dubious. I was very skeptical. I was skeptical about all of the Q stuff. And so anyway, I said, you know, if something doesn't happen by then, I'm just, you know, going to I'm done with all this. I'm out of here. And it was like somebody reported, some Antifa or somebody reported me as saying something like, you know, represented me as saying, as giving some kind of terrorist threat, which was ridiculous. It didn't say, I said something, if something big doesn't happen by blah, blah, blah. I didn't say I'm going to do something. I didn't, you know, there was no sort of, what do you call it, Fed posting, or, you know, I wasn't engaging in any kind of, you know, somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to take a stand. Somebody's got to send a message. You know, there was nothing like that. It was just like this sort of, I was feeling sort of down in the dumps, and I just was venting. And I said, you know, and by stepping away, I didn't mean offing myself. I meant, and I'm not going to do this forever, so maybe I should just step away and not be a part of this, this YouTube thing anymore, not record videos anymore. So that somehow got read. They had a copy of that. The two FBI guys had a copy of that. And around this time, I think I sort of got wise to what was happening. That somebody had ratted on me and was trying to get me in trouble, and it was probably some Antifa person or other. Because that's the kind of rat thinks that they are. That's the kind of stuff that they do. So I said to them at that point, excuse me, I would like to record this conversation myself. And at that point they said, well, if you're going to do that, then our conversation is over. We were just wanting to have a friendly talk, but we don't record anything. And it turns out that is FBI policy. It's the weirdest thing. They do not record themselves. They never record their interrogations. They only just bring a pad and a pen or pencil, and they just write down, their impressions. That's it. But so they sort of said, if you get your phone and record us, then we're done here. And they sort of implied that that showed me to be uncooperative. I didn't want to come across as uncooperative. I didn't want to kowtow to these guys, but I also didn't want to just do anything foolish or imprudent. So I said, okay, whatever. But eventually, it was like, I said, that I didn't mean anything by that. That's ridiculous. I don't know who said that. And I think I asked them who said it, and they kind of, well, they didn't tell me, obviously, but they were a little bit, it's just things get said, and we understand, blah blah. And they were being very understanding the whole time. They were taking this friendly kind of approach, which I didn't buy at all, of course. But it was still, I still thought it was most prudent to be cooperative. And that's why, some people were really down on me, because it's the feds, they don't deserve to be, they don't deserve your cooperation. Well, maybe not, but there's such a thing as doing things in your, there's such a thing as prudence. You behave prudently, in situations like that. And that's what I felt I was doing by continuing to talk to them, by engaging in this conversation with them. One thing I do remember one of them asking, and he just sort of tried to slip it in. He just tried to slip it through. He said, do you own any weapons? Do you have any? No, he said, do you have any weapons in the house? And I said, I'm not comfortable answering that. I'm glad I didn't answer him. I'm glad I said I don't think I need to tell you that. I'm not comfortable answering that question. And then he sort of was like, yeah, blah blah blah. We believe in the Second Amendment. A lot of us are, really strong believers in the Second Amendment, and we believe in the First Amendment too. And just sort of a lot of glad handing, a lot of, it was all bullshit. I know, but it was, and I knew that even at the time. But that was how they were coming across to me. And so eventually, after talking to these guys for about 20 minutes or so, they gave me their cards, and said, well, thank you, sir, we'll be on our way. But they kind of left it open, like, if you've got anything you want to tell us, or if whatever, here, they gave me their cards. And they also sort of said, if don't, they were like, if you out us, if you say our names to the world. I don't remember what it was, but like if I had told, if in my video I don't remember, but if in my video I had revealed their names, that would have been bad. I don't think it would have meant that I was in legal trouble, but they were sort of like, if you're doing a video and please, if you could just leave our names out of it. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I left, and that was it. So, I'm someone who is, probably law-abiding to a fault. I'll just say that. I have been speeding. I have been caught speeding many a time, although it's been a little while. But there was a while there where I kind of had a run of bad luck, and I was, going 50 in a 30-mile zone where it looked like, it was perfectly safe to go 50. I didn't feel like I was speeding, but it was a speed trap, and they caught me, and then they caught me somewhere else, and then I was a super speeder, but that's been my only infraction. There was the stuff that went on with the riot police thugs in Charlottesville, but nothing even came of that. I wasn't arrested or anything. I just got pepper gas sprayed, and then I was on my own, and that was that. And at Charlottesville, other people who were there for the event were pushed. You might or might not remember, but the way that it was handled, the extremely poor way that it was handled, was they essentially said, this has been canceled, by the order of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and they pushed. They said, okay, everybody has to disperse, and so the people who were there for the event dispersed right into where all the vile Antifa people were, and so they got attacked, and because they were wearing things that signified they were there for the event. I was just in a t-shirt and khakis. I was just a guy, so I didn't really stand out in any way. So nobody gave me any problems. But anyway, that was what went down there, and it didn't accrue anything on my record that I know of. But who knows? I do know that I'm probably on a list, and who knows? They could come a knocking again. It could very well happen. It could happen to you too. I don't trust that the people in charge right now have any respect for people's supposed civil liberties at all. So I wanted to just recapitulate what happened to me. Hopefully it was entertaining and useful to at least some of you, and you sat through this whole video, almost a half hour long, of me yakking out in nature here, doing my nature walk. So there you go. That was my story from 2019 when the FBI came a knocking. Thanks for watching.